You keep asking what a normal day looked like there's some goddamn blueprint I can hand over, some neat little timeline you can pin to your corkboard and say, there it is, the crack where the monster slipped in. Like if I spit it out just right, with the perfect inflection, you'll hear the exact second everything went to shit. Like there's a before and after as clean as a fucking knife cut. A headline you can circle in red ink and pat yourselves on the back for spotting it. You want the truth? Fuck you, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this. I don't want to sit in this sterile room with its buzzing fluorescent lights and that faint piss and disinfectant smell clinging to the walls like bad breath. I don't want your sympathetic nods or your clipboards scratching away at my life, turning it into bullet points and psych evals. But you keep poking, keep prodding, keep insisting like you're owed my goddamn soul on a platter. Fine, I'll give it to you. The way it happened, plain, ugly, unfiltered, and about as helpful as a kick in the teeth. There wasn't one moment. That's the part that pisses people off the most. No thunderclap, no slow motion reveal. It was a slow bleed, the kind that soaks through before you notice the stain. 1,000 tiny cuts that add up until you're hemorrhaging, and by then, it's too late to slap on a Band-Aid. Before she got sick, my mother and I weren't close. Not in that bullshit Hallmark card way. All hugs and I love yous plastered on social media for likes. We weren't enemies either. No dramatic fallout or years of silence. We floated in that gray middle ground everyone calls fine. Like it's a virtue. Phone calls once a week. Short, clipped, about the weather or some aunt's hip replacement. Lunch every few months at the same shitty diner, where we'd pick at salads and avoid eye contact. Holidays? Negotiated like fucking treaties. Thanksgiving at her place, Christmas at mine, Easter skipped because who gives a shit about eggs anymore? She was practical, wore it like a badge of honor, raised me to stand on my own 2 feet, then got all surprised and a little hurt when I actually did. She'd bragged to her bridge club about how I'd always march to my own drum, which was code for she doesn't need me like I thought she would, and it stings. Deep down, I think it aided her. That independence she drilled into me left her feeling obsolete, but we never talked about it. We argued about dumb shit. Politics, where she'd parrot whatever Fox News spewed that week, her voice rising like she was defending holy ground. Money, because she thought I spent too much on rent in the city, wasting it on a life she couldn't understand. The fact that I worked 60-hour weeks and she thought I was throwing my life away while she rotted in front of the TV, remote in hand like a scepter. Nothing stuck, though. No screaming matches, no slammed doors. We kept it civilized. Controlled, like pros dig too deep and you might hit bone. Or worse, something sharp that draws blood. I felt that restraint like a leash, pulling me back every time I wanted to lash out, to say, Mom, why can't you just be proud without the backhanded bullshit? But I swallowed it because anger felt like luxury we couldn't afford. That's the key, you see. People romanticize this caregiving crap as some epic repayment, a devotion arc where the kid finally pays back the parent for all those scraped knees and bedtime stories. Bullshit. It wasn't that for us. We didn't have that debt hanging over us. We were just functional, distant enough to breathe, close enough not to feel guilty. But guilt? It was always there, lurking like a shadow. Guilt for not calling more, for rolling my eyes at her endless stories about neighbors I didn't know. Guilt for building a life that didn't include her as the center. And love? Yeah, it was there too, buried under layers of resentment and habit. A quiet, stubborn love that didn't need words. But God, sometimes I wished it did. When she got sick, it didn't hit like a freight train. No sirens, no our drama, just the slow creep, fatigue that dragged her down like wet cement, weight melting off her frame until her clothes hung like sacks, a cough that started dry and turned wet, hacking up phlegm that looked like rust. She downplayed it, of course. Just a bug, she'd say, waving me off with a hand that was starting to tremble. Old age catching up, and I let her, because pushing meant conflict, and we were pros at avoiding that. But inside, it gnawed at me, a flicker of worry that I'd ignore until it burned. Why didn't I push? Was it laziness? Fear? Or just the habit of our fine dynamic, where admitting weakness felt like defeat? The diagnosis snuck up late, the way it does when you're bullheaded and think ignoring your body will make it obey. Stage 4 lung cancer. Metastatic, the kind that spreads like wildfire through dry grass. The doc's office was this bland beige box. Posters on the walls about fighting the good fight, like cancer's a boxing match you can train for. He rattled off palliative care, treatment options, timelines, 6 months, maybe a year if we're lucky. My mother sat there, spine straight as a rod, nodding like he was reading the grocery list. No tears, no, why me? Just practical questions. What's the plan? Can I still drive? When do we start? Her composure cracked me open. Admiration mixed with rage. How could she be so calm? Didn't she feel the world tilting? Me? I sat frozen, brain screaming, this isn't real. Not her, not us. A storm of emotions hit. Denial like a wall, crashing into fear that clawed at my throat, and underneath, a twisted relief that now I had a reason to bridge that distance. It didn't sink in until the parking lot. She fumbled her keys, hands trembling like leaves in a storm, and dropped them into a puddle. She stared down, face twisted in rage at her own betrayal. That's when it hit. Hard, like a punch to the gut. I picked them up, wiped them off, and drove her home in silence. The radio off because even static felt too loud. In that car, grief bloomed raw. Tears I choked back, a lump in my throat like swallowed glass. I felt small, helpless, like the kid she raised all over again. But this time, the roles were flipping, and I wasn't ready. At first, helping felt optional, like dipping a toe in. I'd drive her to chemo, sit in those vinyl chairs that stuck to your skin, watching poison drip into her veins through a port that looked like some alien implant. The room reeked of chemicals and quiet desperation. Other patients hooked up, eyes hollow, families whispering false hope. I'd pick up scripts from the pharmacy, the ones with labels screaming, may cause drowsiness, nausea, death. I'd pretend the beeping machines weren't a countdown. Told myself it was temporary, a blip until she bounced back. That's the lie you feed yourself at the start, but each visit chipped away at me. Exhaustion settling in my bones, a growing knot of anxiety that twisted tighter with every bad blood draw or side effect report. I felt useful, needed, and that scared me because need felt like a trap. But cancer doesn't play fair. Complications piled up, side effects like nausea that turned her stomach inside out, weakness that left her bedbound for days. My visits stretched from hours to overnights. Leaving started feeling reckless, like abandoning a kid in a storm. The guilt was a constant companion now, whispering, what if something happens while you're gone? And love, it surged in those moments, watching her fight, but mixed with resentment. Why her? Why me? Why now, when my life was finally mine? And then the crisis hit. It was a goddamn Tuesday, of course it was. Tuesdays are always the bastard's normal routine. She'd insisted she was fine that morning, sipping weak tea and flipping through a magazine like nothing was wrong. By afternoon, she couldn't breathe, not panic attack shallow. Real, physical, like her lungs were filling with glass shards. Lips turned blue-gray, eyes wide with that animal fear. She tried to stand, legs buckling like wet cardboard, still muttering, I'm okay. Through gasps, panic flooded me. Hot, blinding, heart pounding, hands shaking as I dialed 911, her curses ringing in my ears. Overreacting, Annie, always so dramatic. Even dying, she needed control. The ambulance ride was a blur of sirens and paramedics barking questions. Hospitals smelled like bleach and despair, that metallic tang that seeps into your pores. They drained fluid from her lungs. Pleural effusion, they called it, like naming it made it less terrifying. Cancer was aggressive, spreading, no more living alone. Not safe, they said. We need to avoid another event. We, always fucking we, like I was part of the medical team now. In that moment, rage boiled over. At the doctors. For their clinical detachment, at her for being stubborn, at myself for not seeing this coming. But under it, terror, pure, icy fear that I was losing her, and I wasn't equipped to hold on. She never straight up asked me to move in. Didn't have to. It crept in slow. One night on her couch because she was dizzy, mornings calling work late because she needed help to the toilet, her pride shattering with each shuffle, conversations with my boss. Just for now, until things stabilize. Now became weeks, then months, snapped like a rubber band. Each increment deep in the emotions. Obligation turning to resentment. Love fighting through the fog of fatigue. I felt trapped, but saying no meant guilt that would drown me. 6 months later, I gave up my apartment, practical, right? Saved money, closer to her. Temporary. Always that word, like a prayer. Packing my life into boxes felt like surrender. Grief for the independence I lost. Anger at the world for forcing this. Moving in, I felt a surge of protectiveness. My mom, my responsibility, but it warred with the bitterness. This wasn't the life I chose. Hospice kicked in after more thresholds and paperwork, like dying needs a stamp of approval. Nurse came daily at first, then every other day, clean scrubs, efficient hands checking vitals, oxygen levels, pain scales, kind in that detached, professional way, asking questions that felt like probes. Any changes? Bowel movements? Mood. Mom downplayed. I'd correct. She'd shoot me daggers, they'd leave, and the house would exhale for a minute, then crush back down. Those visits stirred envy in me. They got to leave, escape the suffocation. I stayed, emotions churning, gratitude for their help, jealousy of their freedom, exhaustion that made every feeling sharper. But they left. I stayed, trapped in that cycle, the air thick with the scent of illness, sweat, meds, that underlying rut you can't scrub out. Loneliness hit hard, a hollow ache that echoed in the quiet hours. You want the normal day? Fine, let's dissect it like a frog in bio class. Raw and pinned open, dive into the guts. See the mess. I woke before the alarm. Always did, because she was up, rustling in her room. Said sleeping too long made the pain worse. Said the dreams were nightmares of suffocating, drowning in her own fluids. I don't know if it was bullshit, but belief trumps fact when death's knocking, so I rolled out. No stretch, no scroll through my phone like normal people. Straight to her room, feet cold on the hardwood, heart already thudding like it knew the drill. That first moment of the day hit like a wave, dread, mixed with duty, a love that felt more like chains than wings. Sat her up slow, methodical, like defusing a bomb. Too fast, and she'd gasp, chest heaving, eyes bulging in panic. We'd both freak, day ruined before coffee. So, count to 3, hand under her shoulder blade. Bony now, skin paper thin. Lift gentle, prop pillows, mutter sorry under my breath, even though it wasn't my fault. Whose was it? God's? Hers for smoking in the 70s? Mine for not noticing sooner? In that intimacy, emotions flooded. Tenderness for her fragility, rage at the disease ravaging her, self-pity that this was my life now. Touching her felt sacred and profane, love in the act, but resentment in the repetition. Hospice nurse arrived mid-morning, shoes squeaking on the linoleum, bag of tricks, stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, notepad, checked lungs, wheezy, wet rattles like a broken engine. Pain level? Mom says 4, I say 7, glare from her, like I'd ratted her out to the principal. Nurse nods, adjusts meds, leaves pamphlets on end-of-life planning like homework. During those visits, I felt exposed, my exhaustion on display, my corrections born of frustration. After she left, relief washed over me, brief and sweet, followed by the crash of isolation. Why couldn't I be the one walking out? House lightens for a beat after she goes. Air fresher, silence less oppressive. Then it slams back. Pills on the counter, white one for pain, blue for nausea, half yellow for anxiety, another white identical to the first but double dose. Genius design, right? Mix them up and boom, overdose. I logged everything in a spiral notebook. Times, amounts, side notes. Watch for vomiting, no grapefruit. Double check seals. Ink doesn't forget. Brains do when exhaustion hits like a truck. Dispensing them felt like playing God. Fear of screwing up. Guilt if she suffered. A numb resignation that this was routine. Water next, she hated it, said it sloshed, made her gag. I'd force sips anyway, straw bent, coaxing like a kid with veggies. Just a little, Mom. Trying mattered more than winning when winning meant nothing. Her resistance sparked irritation. Why fight the one thing helping, but then pity, seeing her struggle, and love, persistent despite it all. She complained. Bed too hard, sheets itchy, skin crawling with bugs under them, window open? Too cold. Felt like eviction to the grave. Closed? Stale air choking her. I opened it anyway, for her lungs, sure, but mostly for me. I needed oxygen that didn't reek of decay. Each complaint stabbed, annoyance building to anger, then guilt for feeling that way. She's dying. I'd remind myself, but the emotions didn't listen. Resentment festered, a poison I swallowed daily. Before this hell, I looked alive. Options, ran marathons, slept 8 hours, wore outfits that said I matter. Earrings, mascara, hair done even for grocery runs. Met Julia for margaritas, laughed, till my abs hurt over dumb exes and work drama. That life felt distant now, a taunt. Nostalgia hit like grief, mourning the me that was free. A year in, my body morphed. Shoulders knotted like ropes, hands calloused from lifting, jeans frayed at knees from kneeling, face aged, not crow's feet, but etched tension, jaw locked. Hoodie smelled eternal antiseptic. Mirrors? Ignored unless blood or puke needed wiping. Seeing my reflections sparked self-loathing. Who is this hollow-eyed woman? Shame burned, mixed with defiance. I was surviving. Damn it. Last guy before the storm. Eric, casual, no strings. He liked my fire. I liked his low maintenance. Warm body, easy laughs, sex that left me boneless. Not forever love, but good. Remembering him stirred longing, an ache for touch, normalcy, but it soured to bitterness. Why did this have to end? Night had shifted. In bed, post-fuck glow fading. Phone rings twice. Ignore. Third? Answer. Hospital. Mom collapsed during a scan. O2 tanked, admitted. You coming? Panic surged again. Hot and urgent. Eric saw my face crumple, reached for my hand. I flinched away, not at him, at the pole. Everything else optional now. Hurt flashed in his eyes, and guilt twisted in me. I was hurting him too. He tried, offered help, vigils so I could escape. I shut it down, wanted to say yes, crave one night of normalcy, his arms erasing the stink, but the mean part won. No witnesses to this broken me. Plans canceled, dates ghosted, he faded. I felt relief and self-loathing like acid. Relief? For losing connection? It made me feel monstrous, undeserving of love. Sacrifice? Not noble erosion. Sleep first. Deep REM swapped for vigilant dozing. Mornings gone, porch coffee? Job crumbled. Project manager, queen of chaos. Traveled, led, fixed fires, post-diagnosis. No trips, no leads. Phased out polite. From builder to endurer, smaller world. Each loss layered grief. For career, freedom, self. Resentment toward her grew. Unfair but real. Why did her illness steal my life? Julia hurt worst. College buddy. Saw my potential. Brought casseroles, offered sits, called bullshit on my isolation. Not a martyr, Annie. Ask for help. Her words pierced. Anger at her for pushing. Hurt that she saw the truth. Fear that admitting need would break me. Wanted to scream. Fuck you for seeing me. She stopped calling, not apathy, my walls. Felt like double failure. Chose mom. Lost everything. Loneliness deep into despair. A void that echoed with, what if I'd let her in? Doors closed automatic. Help means variables, risks, emergencies, do it solo. Lost my name, became daughter. Caregiver. Showers? Quick meals? Scarfed nights? Fractured. Forgot my dreams. The routine ground me down. Emotions raw. Exhaustion breeding irritability. Love flickering like a dying bulb. Phone rang that day. Ignored. Take a break? From what? Her dying? Pissed me off like it was optional. Anger flared hot, then cooled to numbness. Fed her soup, broth, easy swallow. 3 bites. Pushed away, no fight. Arguing sparked tears. Tears stole breath. Told her I'd eat later. Lied. Watching her waste away stirred helplessness. A crushing weight. Afternoon nap for her. Shallow. Breaths even. I sat, listened. Machines hum. Traffic growl. Her wheeze. Time ticking like a bomb. In the quiet, thoughts swirled. Regret for lost time. Fear of the end. A dark whisper of wishing it over. Guilt crushed that thought instantly. She asked, "Are you angry at me?" Gut punch. Voice small. Eyes searching. Pain lanced through me. Hurt that she sensed it. Denial rising. No. Truish, not anger. Hollowed out. Transparent. Stretched so thin. Emotions bled together. Love. Resentment. Grief in a toxic mix. Thought. One night free, no needs, no decisions reset. Longing so sharp it hurt, but thoughts aren't crimes. Still, shame followed, like I'd betrayed her. Stayed up late, checked her, adjusted O2, smoothed blanket, checked breathing twice. Reflex, born of paranoia, stood longer, whispered, I'm right here. Words as anchors, holding back the tide of isolation. Love surged then, pure and fierce, despite everything. That day, ordinary drain, no alarms, no malice, but emotions churned beneath. A storm of guilt, love, resentment, exhaustion. It started with obligation, morphing to ownership, what she owed, what I owed, no warnings, the debt grew unspoken until it consumed. I'm done. Build your story, I'm out.